a new day. I see that folks are just going to be trying to text me during our lovely session today. Hold on. I have learned a lot these 37 days that we have spent time together. For future, there will be no 10:15. It would have to be like 10:45, 11 o'clock to allow time in between for unexpectancies. Oh, yes, baby. For unexpectancies that arrive in life. The library from yesterday is still closed. Their air conditioning went out on Sunday. So we will be finishing up, already booked for this week, 40 money spells at a different library, which is fine. Yeah. So that makes 2 libraries that have been without air conditioning. And I talked about that yesterday in my Substack and on my Skip, which, it was a busy day yesterday, which I updated this AM when I went to double check it and read it. I said, ooh, my fault, y'all. So it has been updated, the article. For the books, I will post the links sometime. It's going to be a busy day today, too. I will post the links. I'll try to post them today, but if not, definitely by tomorrow. I've got to upload them to my Amazon affiliate marketing page. In the middle of everything going on yesterday with the switcheroo and the instant learning adventure, someone hit me up about close to 11. They said, I just seen you walking down such and such and such. Baby, no, you didn't. You did not see me walking down. You didn't see me walking anywhere because I'm at the library. And this is what I was discussing at the time you thought I was walking somewhere. I don't know where you thought I was walking to. At the library. And then she called. I schedule all my calls. I don't have time like that. I run businesses, that is plural. Yeah, you don't write 20 books and do that many soundtracks and are on as many platforms as I'm on, even with the ones that are shadow banning, and have free time. Everything is scheduled. Welcome to the life of entrepreneurship. Because time becomes your most valuable asset. Okay. Let's see. Thank you for being here. And we're about to get started with some deep breathing here in just a second. First of all, I'm a woman. I have T and A. Do you know what T and A is? Yeah, so, yes, indeed. Now, I welcome everyone, but you don't have to stay if you don't want to, honey. And this class is for people who want to learn about 40 money scriptures and 40 money spells because they're tired of hell on earth. And they want to not work 40 hours a week for 40 years like Mr. Tony to get $1 million. Matter of fact, suggestions in books, because I discussed it with my sister this morning when she sent me that lovely short. I don't even know who the creator was. It's not somebody I normally listen to. And it was a Caucasian woman talking about Mr. Tony and how he worked at Costco. And he had worked there since before it became Costco. He had worked 40 years of his life energy into a job that was not for $33 an hour. The value that he thought he was, he didn't think he was worth more than $33 an hour. You all ought to read that book by Reverend Valerie Love called Charge More. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in my new book that I'm writing based off of the wealth vehicle that you decide to use called Ye Sold. Yes, books, The 4-Hour Work Week. Excellent book. 100 Million Offers by Alex and $100 million offers by Alex. And The Millionaire Book by Grant Cardone. Let me see who else. Oh, I just ordered, again this AM, it'll be my second book. John Randolph Price, The Prosperity Book, because we're going to be doing later on 40 Days to Prosperity by John Randolph Price. So you are welcome. You are welcome to stay or not. That is totally up to you. The Creator gives us all free will. All right, let's get started with some deep breathing. Awesome. I do have a book called Codependent Silence No More. The first thing a male who feels rejected, has low self-esteem. What do they call them? Red pill men? I believe that's what they call them nowadays. It's endorsed by New York Times bestselling author J.L. King. And if you don't know what to look for, if you are dating a man or talking to a man or are unsure about how men act, aren't familiar with that energy and what to expect, then I highly recommend you purchase it. Scripture. And then we'll welcome who's all in the chat. Day 31, Luke 16:11. Oh, wait a minute. We're on day 37. Ooh, exciting. How to be successful in everything, Joshua 1:8. This book of the law, and law around here means cosmic law. Okay? The book the book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall read and meditate on it. Oh, this is delicious. Day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything in accordance with all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will be successful. Oh, we need to talk about this. That is the Amplified Bible. Always remember, do not let depart from your mouth what is written in the book of the teachings of law, which should be cosmic. Study, meditate on it day and night to be sure, careful, diligent to obey everything that is written there. If you do this, you will be wise, prudent, successful, prosperous in everything or along life's paths, along the way. Expanded Bible. The book of the law, cosmic law, shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it, for then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you should have good success. You know why this is delicious? I'm going to welcome chat members, and then I'm going to talk about it. Okay. Zach Gaming X23, you've been acknowledged. Adaediter for love. Okay. All right. Okay, good. The three wise men, the three sages, and I'm not sure why, as some Christians, I should say, overlook the three sages who looked to the star in the east when they were before traveling to go see baby Jesus. That was not just, I have to read between lines around here. So that was the first navigation system. Hold on. If that is the first navigation system, and they're telling you it's a navigation system, then why wouldn't you look to the cosmos? I got to make it make sense. The Bible says, I go to prepare a place for you. The Bible also says, I have formed before you were even formed in the womb. Okay? So that means there's a map, not a man-made map, not a map handed. Your map was not handed to you. There's a map. Okay? So the first part of that map, and I'm going to try to keep this brief. The first part of that map is your birth date. Everybody's got a galactic signature. Everybody's got a birth code. That is the first part of your map, your identity. The second part of that map, besides your horoscope, is your planetary alignments before your planetary houses, which is established with your time of birth. the cosmos, but you are trained or taught not to look to the cosmos. That's supposed to be evil or bad. No, you're going to need to have some questions answered. A lot of questions, actually, through the cosmos. Through your kin, through your wave spell, through your castle, through your Hulons, Holons, which deal with human, planetary, and interplanetary. And then also with your fifth force. Okay? Yeah, the 13 wave spell. So that is what I am getting together right now to put in as part of training and curriculum into Ye Sold, the book that I'm writing. All right. So that we can start with knowing ourselves and birth identity. To operate from a higher elevation as far as man and womankind for humanity. Okay? Let's see. Now, I did not go over scriptures yesterday due to everything that went on that I wasn't prepared for, that I now know to be prepared for in the future. And I will go through some of the questions that I had on one of the teachings, and then we shall go from there. I just seen what today's spell is, and great, because that's what I just pretty much covered. All right. So in 2 Kings, it discusses High Priestess Jezebel painting her eyes. The complaint is she is called a prostitute and a witch. I've said in previous videos, me and Jezebel could have got along really well, of course. All right. So 2 Kings 9. The context reveals a political execution, an act of royal defiance, and a heavy dose of military propaganda. The makeup, seduction versus statehood. In verse 30, as the rebel general Jehu rides into the city after taking out Jezebel's son, the king, Jezebel hears the news. The text states she painted her eyes and adorned her head and looked out of the window. For centuries, standard sermonization claimed she was trying to seduce Jehu, but contextually, that makes zero sense. Jezebel was a grandmother at this point, and Jehu was there to completely annihilate her bloodline. Historically, eye paint, known as kohl, K-O-H-L, and the formal dressing of the hair were the sacred regalia of a reigning queen mother. She was putting on her crown and her official mask of state. By looking out of the high window, a classic ancient Near Eastern motif associated with royalty or goddesses looked down on the public she was refusing to hide. It was an act of absolute defiance. She chose to face her executor dressed as a ruler, not a beggar. The complaining label, prostitute and witch. All right, so 2 Kings 9:22, before Jehu takes out Joram asks if Jehu comes in peace, and he retorts, what peace can there be so long as the whorings and the sorceries of your mother Jezebel are so many? Ooh, Jehu, you sound like a hater, boo. All right. Whorings, prostitution, harlotry, and sorceries, witchcraft were religious and political code words. We have talked about code words that are approved for magic in the Bible in previous sessions, and how it's viewed through the Bible versus how it's viewed for those that they don't want to practice it. Prostitution did not mean she was selling or sleeping around. In the Old Testament prophetic tradition, whoredom was the standard metaphor used for spiritual infidelity, specifically a treaty or covenant with a foreign god instead of Yahweh. Witchcraft or sorcery referred to the ritual practices of her native Phoenician religion, where she served as a high status patron and effectively a high priestess protector of Baal and Asherah. Because Jezebel was a foreign princess from Tyre who fiercely maintained her own religion and funded hundreds of state prophets for her gods, the writers of Kings viewed her as a massive geopolitical threat to the worship of Yahweh. The propaganda flip. By framing her religious devotion as witchcraft and her state leadership as prostitution, the political faction led by Jehu successfully stripped her of her actual power titles in the historical narrative, where she put on her ritual eye makeup to face her unaliving like a monarch. The text recorded it, however, subsequent generations conflated the makeup with the label of harlot, permanently cementing the false archetype of the painted wicked temptress. In reality, the text shows a fierce, uncompromising foreign queen who refused to bow to a military coup, choosing instead in her full royal makeup. Let's talk about Jehu, who chopped off 70. Okay? This is one of the most brutal, gruesome climaxes in the entire biblical narrative. Right after Jehu has Jezebel thrown out the window, he turns his sights on the rest of the royal family in 2 Kings 10. Jehu sends a chilling letter to the guardians and elders of Samaria who are protecting Ahab's descendants, challenging them to a fight. Terrified, the elders surrender immediately and ask what he wants them to do. Jehu replies with a cold, calculated demand. If you are on my side, and if you will obey me, take the heads of men, your master's son, and come to me at Jezebel tomorrow at this time. 2 Kings 10:6. The handlers comply completely, and they, at 70 sons of the royal house, packed them into baskets and shipped them straight to Jehu. When the baskets arrived, Jehu ordered them to be piled up into 2 massive heaps right at the entrance of the city gate until morning. He then uses the literal mountains of skulls as a political prop. He stands before the horrified public and basically says, "Look, that's the king. But who are these men? This is the fulfillment of prophecy. The house of Ahab is completely wiped out." Pure, unadulterated psychological warfare and political terror. Jehu used those heads to completely break the spirit of any remaining loyalist, cementing his DNA coup through sheer shock and awe. All right, now I've talked previously about I used to sneak and read horror books when I was a child. Underneath my covers in the middle of the night, and how I seldom watch horror now. So I was like, okay, I need to go see if this is in any other movies or any of this, because Rev kept mentioning Game of Thrones. I haven't seen Game of Thrones. I don't watch many movies, although it seems nowadays I have been watching quite a few movies and dissecting them. So this is an epic. I'm a book writer. I've got 20 books. This is an epic dark fantasy, historical horror, and war cinema. When directors want to show the absolute peak of human ruthlessness and tyrannical power, they recreate exactly what Jehu did. A massive example matched this level of brutality. Imagine that. Brutality in the Bible. So much for one love, one humanity, one peace, one joy. Yeah. The literal visual, Apocalypse Now 1979. While technically a psychological masterpiece, its final act descends into absolute folk horror. When Captain Woodard finally reaches Colonial Coat's compound deep into the jungle, the cinematic imagery is lifted straight out of the ancient war text. The steps, the gate, and the grounds of the temple are literally littered with dozens of heads. Kurtz uses them exactly like Jehu as a terrifying physical display of absolute sovereign power designed to break the mind of anyone who enters his kingdom. You know, it is really how people do not want you to be master of your own head, which is the Hierophant card. We're going to be going through some things today because I just ordered my third deck. I normally do. I started with Particles of the Uterus as far as cards, tarot cards. I moved to, I studied that. Then I finally studied New Orleans Voodoo Tarot. I love that deck. And completely love. I bought 2 decks from them. I'm on my second deck right now. And oh, oh yes. Let me see. Here they are. So the Master of the Head card in tarot is the Hierophant card. Okay. And currently right now, we are having it read upside down. Okay. In reverse. I bought some things off of Amazon. I'll have to post them later, but isn't that adorable? Since I want a Angelology tarot deck, and I also want an Egyptian. And I've also created, which is not printed yet, but it has been created, my own tarot deck. So I thought I'd buy some things to start keeping my decks in. Previously, I've just wrapped them in cloth, but it's time to elevate a few things because I learned some history yesterday in regards to how expensive tarot decks were and who had access to them before print press. We'll go over that tomorrow. All right. So The Ancient War Horror 300, 2006. Now, I've seen this movie. That was a good movie. I mean, it was years ago. But yeah, if you want to see Jehu who heaps at the gate brought to life with synthesized horrifying cruelty, the Persian army in 300 does it explicitly. They build a literal wall out of the remains and the severed heads of defeated scouts right at the geopolitical border, the hot gates, to send a message of psychological terror to the advancing Spartans. I need to see that movie in 3D. Oh my. The ultimate TKO is what we're going to call it. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, 2003. I like Lord of the Rings. Through high fantasy, The Siege of Gondor features a scene that plays out like a direct homage to ancient terror tactics. The orc armies roll up their catapults to the grand gates of Minas Tirith. Instead of launching boulders to break the walls, they launch hundreds of heads of the fallen Gondorian soldiers over the walls into the city streets. The result is the film is immediately unadulterated psychological paralysis. The citizens scream, panic, and completely lose the will to fight. Oh, wow. Um, the thought that just popped into my head. When people go to war and try to take what's not theirs, um, and they're just expecting the other people to just, or the people they're wanting to fight with, or the people they are trying to seize their land or their people or their culture or whatever else, and they don't expect any type of consequences, retaliation, pushback, um, revolution. That is just completely mind-boggling to me. The audacity and entitlement. To think that we should just roll over and let you up in the air, no lubrication. How about a no? Absolutely not. Yeah. All right. Why horror and history share this? Okay. Real horror filmmakers know that the scariest monster isn't a demon or a vampire. It is a human being who treats other human bodies like building blocks of statistical props. Are you living the American dream yet? Wait a minute. Is the American dream your dream? Is that your dream? Baby, we need to be asking some questions. Whose dream? Whose dream? Are we there yet? What if you don't want to have an American dream? You might want your dream to be anywhere in the world you want it. The world is vast. Oh, it's huge. It's beautiful. I'd explore it. Yeah. To those people who have never left 30 minutes from their home. Yeah, just a little or a lot. Maybe have another dream and the dream be yours. All right. Okay. So, what Jehu did to those 70 sons wasn't just take them out, it was desecration as communication. I don't want you looking to the navigation system that was originally here, that the sages followed, because I want desecration as communication. I don't want you to know, oh baby, that there are cosmic laws I don't want you to know that you have a direct connection without a middleman to source. Not at all. Without a liaison. Without a matron. Yeah. When I worked in the doctor's office, orthopedic surgeon, they called me the maitre d'. I don't want you to know you have a direct connection. I don't want you to know, a term they used in the corporate world, that there's an open door policy. I don't know if we're there yet. Let's keep going. Let's see. Piling them into two mounds at the entrance of Jezebel was a visual broadcast system before televisions existed, telling the world, the old regimen is, and I am the undisputed power now. Horror cinema has been copying the ancient script for decades. Baby, not only horror movies are doing that in 2026. Have you looked around lately? Okay. Now, why would a horror movie and a holy book, supposedly written by God, not mankind, have this type of horror in it? That is the ultimate question. Let's just cut to the core of what makes these texts so jarring. It forces us to confront why a book meant to reveal the divine reads in these chapters exactly like a dark historical horror film. Historically, textually, and regular readers grapple with through a few different lenses depending on how they view the text. The realist mirror, recording human brutality. One major perspective is that the Old Testament functions as an unvarnished, brutal mirror of ancient Near Eastern history. Is this why we left Egypt? Oh, honey. Ooh. In the ancient world, whose behavior wasn't unique, it was the standard political blueprint for a regimen change. If we look at the stone monuments reliefs left behind by ancient empires like the Assyrians, they actively bragged about building pillars of human outside conquered cities. By including these details, the text isn't necessarily approving of the horror. It is recording the raw DNA reality of human political ambition. Shows humanity as its absolute worst without sanitizing it or putting a polite filter on history. The theological problem of divine mandate. The deeper, more disturbing layer that trips people up is that the text states Jehu was anointed by a prophet to do this. Another delicious magical word. In 2 Kings 10:30, God commends Jehu for wiping out Ahab's line. This creates a massive theological paradox. Why would God sanction horror? The immediate context. Within the narrative logic, the house of Ahab and Jezebel had introduced systemic tyranny, state-sponsored slayings, like Naboth for his vineyard, and the total erasure of the nature's spiritual identity. The text framed Jehu's action as a violent surgical purging of the cancerous regimen. The later correction, interestingly, the Bible itself later wrestles with this. A few centuries after Kings was written, the prophet Hosea 1:4, state that God will actually punish the house of Jehu for the Jezreel. The text shows for the DEA shedding of Jezreel. The text shows a shifting, evolving understanding of justice, signaling that Jehu's mass takeout, we're going to call it a TKO, technical knockout, in case you don't know what that is, crossed the line from divine judgment into personal DNA-thirsty tyranny. The shift in perspective. This exact tension is why the narrative changes so radically when we cross into the New Testament. The structural shift from the DNA-soaked political warfare of kings to the teachings of Jesus is built entirely on addressing this horror. The later texts essentially argue that human political TKO and piles of at the gate do not produce the righteousness of God, moving the battlefield from a physical war for a throne to an internal spiritual transformation. So why is it in a holy book? Because the writers refuse to hide the absolute darkness of the human condition and the terrifying lengths of which people will go in the name of power, politics, and even religion. You know, I finished reading yesterday during all the chaos and the drama. We're not going to call it chaos and drama. We're going to call it a master class in making sure you have a backup plan and adventure. That's what we're going to call it. Because life is all about perspectives and how we view things. The main thing talked about in the doctrine and ritual of high magic by Ephelius Livy was religion, besides tarot cards. One of the reasons I bought the classic cards. He uses them in his literature. Val uses them in her studies. He used them in the book. This book, he used them in Keys of the Mysteries. They kept giving me descriptions and saying what it was. And then the Bible was having descriptions of these tarot cards in them. I said, you know what? Let's just go ahead, do a little research on these cards and get the cards. So it's going to be interesting learning a different deck. But he talks about religion, dogma, reason, science, and how they're all connected or not connected. Because he was reading the Bible and trying to figure out how, he figured some things out. But he was like, these are not aligning. If you want to reach your higher self, you have to go based off of reason. You must become the master of your own head and not believe everything someone else tells you. It reads like a horror movie because ancient history was a horror movie. 2026 is a horror movie as well. All right, so we just named the exact mechanism of how historical and psychological denial works. It is much easier for human nature to digest a false, people would rather believe the false horror in the Bible than slavery or the future horrors of today. Oh, excuse me. Oh, that's the question. Or that's the thought process, I should say. Yep, this is how historical and psychological denial works. It is much easier for human nature to digest a false horror, a movie monster, a cartoonish villain, or a safely detached story of ancient piles of than it is to look directly at the calculated systemic horrors that actually build and sustain civilizations. When we look at the reality of human history, the structures of slavery, systemic exploitation, and the cold bureaucratic hordes of today aren't the result of a single DNA-thirsty madman running amok. They are quiet, organized, and deeply embedded in economics and law. The comfort of spectacle. A movie style horror is loud, shocking, and ultimately finishes when the credits roll. It lets the audience off the hook because it frames evil as something rare, wild, and distant. But things like historical slavery or the creeping corporate and systemic horrors of today require a different kind of evil: apathy, normalization, and collective agreement. Slavery wasn't just physical violence, it was an entire global economic architecture wrapped in legal justifications, religious excuses, and everyday commercial trade. The future horrors of today, whether it is the digital strip mining of personal sovereignty, institutional exploitation, or the quiet destruction of human communities for profit, don't look like Jehu standing over a pile of. They look like contracts, algorithms, policies, and standard business practices. Why the myth wins? People lean into the myth of the monstrous villain because the alternative is terrifying. If evil is only found in DNA-soaked tyrants, then regular polite society is safe and good. But if the real horrors are built into the very foundation of how society handles power, labor, and wealth, then everyone is forced to confront the machinery they are living inside. By cutting out the liaison, the comforting filters we put over history and the present, we are left with the raw truth. The most dangerous systems aren't the ones screaming at the gates. They are the ones operating quietly in the background while everyone is looking the other way. This would be the secret society card in tarot voodoo, also known as the justice card, except for the justice card is reversed. Okay. All right. Now, since I haven't watched Game of Thrones, I did a little work. It became a globally phenomenon precisely because it captured a fraction of the raw, brutal political plotting, betrayals, and family TKO, the whole line, that are written plainly into the text of Kins by Arthur George R. Martin. He said he didn't invent his most shocking plot points. He stole them from medieval history and ancient texts. But even the fictional world he built struggles to match the sheer concentrated, cold DNA-ness of the biblical narrative of Jehu. To put in perspective, here's how the story's been tracing matches up against each kind of storytelling that shocked modern television audience. The Succession Blueprint. Biblical. The taking out of two kings. There's not a the other library would have Clorox wipes. They would have tissues. They'd have pens and markers in the room. Ain't none of that going on here. Not none. It's like a hotel. That's what this reminds me of. Some hotels have certain amenities and conveniences, and some don't. I'm learning as I go. Okay. All right. Jehu takes out King Jerome through the heart with an arrow and leaves him in a field, and then chases down and mortally wounds King Ahaziah of Judah, the fictional throne equivalent. The sudden violent elimination of reigning monarchs to completely shatter the balance of power. The defenestration of the queen, Jezebel's thrown out of a high window by her own palace eunuchs, who instantly switched sides to survive the new regimen. Excuse me, I'm going to grab a tissue real quick. I'll be right back. I'm allergic to BS. All right. Thank you for your patience. Okay. The ultimate political betrayal by the internal staff, turning a ruler's own defenders into their executioners. The purge of the 70 heirs. A tactical systemic elimination in entire DNA line to ensure no surviving child can ever grow up to claim the throne. The mountain of the skulls, by piling their heads into two literal heaps at the entrance of the city gate as a psychological display of absolute dominance, using the desecrated remains of the old regiment as a public billboard to paralyze any potential resistance. Fear. Baby, that's a whole subject matter. Fear is a whole subject matter. Listen. It is. And we got rid of it in week 1. We listed all those fears. The realist distinction. The reason Game of Thrones couldn't outdo this history is the fiction has to worry about keeping an audience entertained while the ancient text is documenting the raw, unvarnished mechanics of a total coup d'etat. Gotta love French. In television, violence is stylized for drama. People love drama. Some people. I like harmony. In the ancient text, the horror is treated with a terrifying bureaucratic detachment. The text tells us that after Jehu ordered the 70 heads to be piled at the gate, he casually went inside, ate, drank, and gave orders for Jezebel's burial. Oh. Picnics. Picnics. People having a great time. Children running around everywhere. Good food. On the grill, barbecuing. Folks done brought dishes and had a whole pitch in. Picnics. And part of the entertainment of the picnic was watching someone swing from a rope around their neck. I do believe that is the Hanged Man card. In voodoo, that is called the zombie card. That was the entertainment, which is not entertaining. It is the exact combination of absolute violence and complete administrative coldness that makes the historical reality far more chilling than any modern screenplay could ever replicate. Now let's talk about it. One of the things I mentioned on the video where I previously discussed this and said I was going to come back and talk about it later. 2 Kings 10:6, Jehu specifically addresses a letter to the guardians of the sons of Ahab. In the ancient Near Eastern royal court, these guardians weren't just low-level bodyguards or hired soldiers. They were the highest-ranking nobles, elders, and chief officials of the capital city, Samaria. In that culture, it was standard practice for the royal children to be placed in the households of kingdoms' most trusted elite families to be raised, educated, and protected. This means that the very men who swung the swords were the foster fathers, mentors, and tutors of the 70 princesses. Whew. You don't say. They had watched these boys grow up from infancy, fed them at their tables, educated them in the arts of statecraft, and been entrusted with their lives by the crown. Sacrifice. The Bible is good for that. Sacrifices. A calculated test of betrayal. Jehu knew exactly what he was doing when he sent that letter. He didn't send his own army into Samaria to take them out. Instead, he forced the elders, essentially saying, prove your loyalty to me by destroying the very things you were sworn to protect. The text notes that the guardians were completely paralyzed by fear. To save their own skins and secure their positions under the new regimen, they turned on the children sleeping under their own roofs. You know what? I think this is a great time. Wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. I thought I brought, hold on. Make sure it ain't. I could have. I thought I had brought some nail polish with me. I need to do my nails. Seeing how we're protesting right now. So, they didn't just execute political rivalries. They took out the children they had raised. The horror wasn't just the sheer number. It was the absolute rupture of the most sacred bonds of trust, protection, and family in the ancient world. The text doesn't name the specific individuals who carried the baskets, but it explicitly tells us the group responsible, the elite guardians and elders of the city of Samaria. In 2 Kings 10:7, and when the letter came to them, they took the king's sons and TKO'd them in 70 persons and put their heads in baskets and sent them to him at Jezreel. Oh, since we're putting the Bible in school, are y'all going to put this in their hands? The good book. Which sections do you want them to start with before they view the full landscape or the full throttle, the full energy, the full concepts? I'm just curious. What age is the requirement going to be before they read the entire book? Oh, yeah, we can have the Bible in school, but don't teach about slavery. Oh, this is good. Take that out of the books. That's too real. That actually happened. Yeah, we can't, definitely can't teach on any of that. Can't teach on the real history of the country. But we can teach on this Bible here. We can ration it out. Certain sections, just like they did the Council of Nicaea. Yeah. Chose what books to put in it and everything, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. These weren't common laborers of Jehu's own shoulders. The execution, the packing of the baskets, and the delivery were carried out entirely by the trusted royal handlers, tutors, and city officials who had raised the boys. By forcing these specific nobles to physically pack and transport the severed heads on the princes they had protected, Jehu achieved two things: total complicity. The leaders of Samaria could never rebel against Jehu in the future because they had now personally taken out the royal bloodline. They were permanently locked into Jehu's resume. Why on earth would you want to do that? The ultimate message: when those baskets arrived at the gates of Jezreel, it proved to the entire public that the capital city had completely broken, surrendered, and actively joined Jehu's coup. When you look at the entire sequence of events, the taking out of the seven princes by the very men who raised them, we are looking at the mechanics of political and systemic sacrifice. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. Sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. In the ancient world, sacrifice wasn't always a religious ritual performed on a stone altar to a deity. Often it was the cold, calculated offering up of human lives to appease a new terrifying power. The elders and guardians of Samaria stood at the horrific crossroads. They could have chosen to protect the 70 children they loved and raised, which meant choosing honor, duty, and love. Now that sounds delicious. Don't that sound delicious? That sounds absolutely delicious. Damn, I wish some of that existed in 2026. Honor, duty, and love. Oh my God, that would be a miracle. I hope some miracles do happen. Imagine that. Honor, duty, and love. But it guaranteed their own destruction when Jehu's army arrived. Or they could sacrifice the innocent to buy their own safety, survival, and political standing under the new regimen. We were going to have to fight. Yeah, we're going to have to fight. So, we've got to fight for honor, duty, and love. They chose self-preservation. Damn. If that don't sound like colonizer consciousness right there, I don't know what that is. Or what does. Are we there yet? America's great yet. American dream. How's your American dream going again? How about just dream, period? Whatever you want to do or whatever you want to be with your life. Bigger. Dream bigger. All right, so this brings us back to what we discussed about the real horrors of history and human nature. The most devastating sacrifices aren't made by monsters in the dark. They are made by regular people, leaders, institutions who decide that protecting their own power, comfort, or survival is worth the price of someone else's destruction. I'm going to repeat it. Real horrors of history and human nature, the most devastating sacrifices aren't made by monsters in the dark. They are made by regular people, leaders, and institutions who decide that protecting their own power, comfort, or survival is worth the price of someone else's destruction. Jehu demanded proof of their total submission. Sounds like a loyal cabinet. And the leaders paid that invoice in the DNA of the children entrusted in their care. Sounds like the military going off to fight a war that shouldn't have been started in the first place. I'm just saying. All right. So I have seen a lot since I have been reading every book in the Bible, line by line, since January of this year. Yes, indeed. We're talking DNA baths, endless cycles, political takeouts, cold DNA betrayals, with the text sacrifice, listen, text claiming God sanctioned it. I'm like, where is the unconditional love at in these books? Including, because we read Book of Adam and Eve. Three books of Enoch as well. And Testament of Solomon. I just bought and received it the other day. And posted that yesterday. We find a harsh, uncompromising, ancient landscape. All right, so the Bible doesn't present a single flat, simple picture of God. It tracks an incredibly long, messy, and shifting relationship between humanity and the divine over thousands of years. To find the parts of the text that emphasize a loving God, you have to look outside the DNA political war, power struggles of the royal courts. There are a few distinct places where the tone shifts completely from a terrifying ruler to something deeply personal and tender. Well, it's about time. The God of the vulnerable, the prophets. While the kings were busy TKOing each other out for thrones, the prophets were often painting a completely different picture of the divine character. In the book of Hosea, God described not as a warlord, but as a heartbroken parent. When Israel was a child, I loved him. It was I who taught them to walk, taking them by their arms, but they did not know that I healed them. I led them with the cords of human kindness, with ties of love. Similarly, in the Psalms and the prophets, the core definition of God's character is repeated over and over again as a rhythmic anchor. The Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness. Psalms 86:15. In these texts, God's primarily concern isn't military dominance, protecting the widow, the orphan, and the stranger, the people completely crushed by tyrants like Jehu. I guess the question we should be asking humanity: what part of the Bible, for those who read it, go by it and say they believe everything in it, word for word, happened? What part are you operating out of? The Old Testament or the New Testament? And why? The shift in voice, even within the Elijah and Elisha narratives surrounding the house of Ahab, there is a famous moment that challenges the whole idea that God is found in violence. 1 Kings 19, the prophet Elijah is hiding in a cave, terrified and traumatized by the political violence around him. A powerful wind tears the mountains apart, but the text says God was not in the wind. Then an earthquake shakes the ground, but God was not in the earthquake. Then a raging fire passes by, but God was not in the fire. Finally, there comes what the Hebrew calls a still, small voice. or a sound of sheer silence. That is where the divine presence actually is, not in the loud, destructive forces of horror, but in the quiet, gentle whisper. Growing up, we listened to gospel, a lot of gospel in my family. Still do listen to gospel. One of my favorite groups I loved listening to growing up was the Winans, the brothers. And they carried me from my young childhood in regards to music until my teenage years. And they had a song out called, I want to say it was called The Still Small Voice. Listen, listen to the voice. Small, still voice. Beautiful song. Yeah, that's that right there. The voice. That quiet voice. That intuitive voice. That death. I hope we're getting somewhere. DAATH voice. That master of the head heareth that upright. Zombie flipped upside down. Hangman upside down voice. That still small voice that is found by the hermit upright. Coach, Coche, French. The ultimate contrast, the New Testament. For millions of readers, the reasons New Testament exists is specifically to answer the horror of the Old. The text explicitly argues that the true nature of God wasn't captured by the DNA actions of ancient kings, but by someone who chose the exact opposite path. Instead of demanding a pile of 70 heads to secure a throne, Jesus allows his own DNA to be spilled. He flips the script of Jehu entirely. Jehu uses power to sacrifice the innocent for his own survival. The New Testament frames God as someone who sacrifices himself out of love for the vulnerable. Wrestling with the text. If you only look at the historical chronicles of ancient Israel's wars, you are seeing a reflection of brutal time period where people believed the ultimate proof of God's love was military victory. It takes time digging through the poetry, the laments, and the latter developments of the text to find the voice that says love, mercy, and justice are what actually matter. The text itself is designed to make you wrestle with it. Pantheon and dynasty code. In the ancient Near East, the number 70 functioned as a symbolic code for representing a whole dynasty or an entire pantheon of gods. Oh, this is so delicious. Listen. Hold on. 70. believe this is 72 right here. All right. Canaanite origins. The symbolism is rooted in Canaanite pantheon, where the chief deity El and the goddess Ashur were said to be the parents of 70 gods. Biblical application. This cultural framing carried over into biblical texts instead of always representing a literal count. The number 70 was used deliberately by ancient writers to signify the complete eradication or representation of a royal household or divine lineage, such as 70 sons of Ahab, targeted during Jehu's DNA rise to power. Now, don't have it in front of me, but some of these scriptures Val talked about, it lists 70 in some text for some scriptures in regards to, because 70 is in the Bible quite a bit. And sometimes it can list 72. If it lists 72, I normally think of Kabbalah because of the 72 angels and the demons. Which is the GOT ops. And I also believe that is the number of tarot cards, if I remember correctly, for the regular deck. Let me see. You got 22 from 0. It's 22. And then it might be 21 in the regular tarot deck. And then we got the 10 suites. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 16, 40, 5, and then it's 22. All right. We are going to get started on the spell work. Then if you want to hang with me some more, we're going to go through this deck real quick. But we're going to go next into spell work. I'm thinking about Kendrick Lamar's song. One of the lyrics he used. Don't leave your lives in these weird hands. Must it on the beat? Oh. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Spell 37. Arise and asleep. Notes on this spell. This spell is to be conducted at the two most profoundly effective opportunities to impregnate your subconscious mind. When you arise and when you fall asleep. Ooh. Step 1. Commit to doing whatever it takes to shift your consciousness from lack to wealth in all love. Step 2. Create your favorite bedtime ritual for falling asleep at night. Could include chamomile tea, making love to someone you love, writing a bedtime intention in your dream journal to remember your dreams, etc. We need to highlight this one. Step 3. As you are lying in bed after your rituals and just before you fall asleep, silently vision in your third eye your rich life while feeling the feelings of being immensely rich. Stay with the vision and feelings until you fall asleep with a big, fat, happy grin on your face. When you arise, before lifting your head off the pillow with eyes still closed, remember your dreams. Then vision your rich life while feeling the feeling of immense wealth, riches, and abundance. When you're ready to open your eyes, write your dreams in your dream. Remember, do not have electronics near you or your head while you sleep. Do not look at technology or phones for 1 to 2 hours after waking. Interesting. I publish my dream journals. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yes. I publish my dream journal. That's how that spell works. Yeah. Oh, delicious. I mean, my goodness. Accentuating curves, assassination, hips. The first of the dream journal. Some of them. Some of them happened, some of them didn't. Yeah. 7 African powers for beginning practitioners, discussing things that I learned in regards to that journey. Yes. A complete hexology in Haku form on Voodoo Tarot. Dream journal. Supreme Reign Love Redefined. First public work by New York Times bestselling author J.L. King. Yeah, things that happen and outcomes that I dreamed of, plus music to match. Dream journal. Dream. Dream, 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 dream. Whenever I want to, all I got to do is, baby, dream journal. Don't dream small, dream big. I want you to have blissful, cosmic orgasms in every area of your life when you dream. That's in the new book. That's in that playlist I've got on YouTube. Cosmic. I want them to radiate through brain cells, through emotions, through energy, through electricity, through frequency. Baby, dream. Dream. Okay. How big are your dreams? If they don't want to make you take a tinkle on yourself, is what I was told, then you're not dreaming big enough. I did not know what that meant until that day it arrived. And I'm doing the tinkle dance and sprint to get to the ladies' room. Baby, because of so much excitement about a dream manifesting. All right, that was spell 37. I hope it did for you, baby, what it needed to do for you. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get into tarot cards right now. Y'all are going to go through the cards with me. Since I'm not really familiar with this type of deck. But I'm super excited to learn. Woo, this book is heavy. Okay. Oh, this is the book we just came out of. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Put this to the side. Ooh. Put this one to the side. This is a whole conversation by itself, which is not for today. That's a whole entire conversation. And even though I finished reading it at yesterday, and that's how you use a book. It's exactly how you. This is how you use a book. So, this is how you use a book. I don't know what other people do with their books. I don't know what they do with them, but that is how I use a book. All right. I still have questions. that I want to dissect out of the book. It's a lot of information. All right. I've got to review a few videos in regards to Solomon and not Solomon, Second Kings, and I believe she said we would soon be closing out of that and moving to, I want to say Judah. But I've got to review a few videos, so give me, today's Tuesday. I will have that for you Friday, because we've got lots to cover in between. All right. So, first thing, we're getting into the tarot session now. This is the smallest tarot book I have ever received in my entire life. The smallest. Matter of fact, not only is it the smallest tarot book, it's a cute little book. I didn't know books could come this small. I mean, I think I've had maybe like you know how people give you that little New Testament book when they're handing out the Bible, and it's real small. I've had that kind of book, but this is a 100-page book. So that was the first thing I noticed. I'm used to getting books. Don't talk about me. I do have this as a new book, but listen, I have studied this one and I keep it, and it has been through everything. I have a new one. I haven't wrote in that one at all, but this one has spent a lot of time with me. So my books are normally for tarot about this size, okay? So I opened up the box because I knew it was supposed to come with a book. And I shook the package it came in. I said, well, ain't no book fall out of this package. And then when I opened the box, there was the book. Now, I have not had a chance, because I came straight to class with you all. I have not had a chance to decipher what is on the cloth yet. But it looks Hebrew, and I can't wait to find out, because I'm nosy and I like learning. So yeah, beautiful. So yeah, I've got a book, and it came with the sack to keep things in. And then it came in this cute little box. Oh, that's the sun card. We're going to go through some things in a minute. So, I'm going to pop my cherry with you today. Let's pop the cherry. Okay? So, I did do a little peeking, because how I learned tarot through voodoo is on the Tree of Life with from Kether to Malkuth through the 4 worlds, with the 4 suites per each seraphim, What I mean by seraphon is ace, 1, 2. 4 of aces, 4 of deuces, 4 of twos, 4 of threes, 4 of fours, 4s of 5, 4 of 6, 4 of 7, 4 of 8, 4 of 9, 4 of 10. So the first thing is the deck starts with the major arcana. Okay. Which we call over in voodoo the tip, the pips. We call them the trumps. So they start with the trump cards. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe they're about to go through, we're going to go through these cards in a minute. Maybe they're about to go, when I saw the King of Cups right after the trump cards, I said, maybe they're about to go through the temple cards. That is not what happened. They started with the 10 cups. For emotional intelligence. Next cards were the 10 cards in the pentacles. The next cards are the swords. And the next cards left are the wands. Oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to reorganize the whole entire deck. So, yes. When I come back tomorrow, they will no longer be in this order. The full, Keither, Dambala, and Aida Wido. What I will like about this first card looks like he's about to step off of a cliff. But he looks like he's happy while about to step off of that cliff. Okay? All right. But in my voodoo deck, this would be Dambala and Aida Wito card for Keither. This would be at Zelus. This would be the starting point, the fire tree entry where you get the urge, you get the call that you want to do something, and even if you're not sure what, you are ready to leap for it. What is that song called? Jump for my love, jump in. All right, you are ready to jump. All right. Now they talk about this card with the witches. The witches talk about this card. I used to keep this on my Oshun altar, but I never paid the card much attention because it wasn't a deck that I was studying. So, the Magician card. Okay. The Magician in voodoo is Dr. John the Magus, who used to play on the Congo Square. All right. The Magician. It starts with rhythm. It starts with the drums. But in this card, to bring heaven to earth, we got the little infinity symbol, we've got the cup, we've got the pentacles, we've got some beautiful roses or some type of flowers going all the way around, and there is a sword, and there is a wand. Okay, the beginning of creative projects and endeavors. You are trying to bring, you're wanting to bring Kether to Malkuth, heaven to earth. Mm. The High Priestess card. In voodoo, this would be Aizon. And on this card, and Aizon in voodoo is featured at the marketplace, and people are coming to talk to the ancestors on the voodoo card, okay? And is one of my favorite cards in the deck. It means love. Aizan means love. Um, pardon me. There she is. Also, when I learned, I did not learn, I learned Congo, no, I'm sorry, I learned Petro, Congo, Rada, and Santaria. So I learned differently. Hey, ancestors. Okie dokie. Oh, baby. For those who don't know what a sigil is, sigil, because we talked about sigils earlier in the game, last week, I believe. Okay. Now, in the doctrine and ritual of high magic, and in the Keys of the Mysteries by Ephelius Levi, I read Keys of the Mysteries first. And he talked about Boaz and Jachin. And I'm like, he's talking about the columns to the temple of Solomon. Well, I prayed for Solomon like wisdom. And so I was like, okay. And he started naming alignment in Keys of the Mystery with this tarot card. And I can see now why. And Boaz is Chesed, and Jachin is Jubal. Chesed means mercy, severity, or judgment. And we've got the High Priestess in the middle with the moon at the bottom. I'm not kind of sure what these fruits are yet, since this is a new deck for me, but I'm sure as I study them, I will find out. Now, in my book, in the voodoo book, which none of this is going to be listed in this cute little 100-page book. The High Priestess is known as Marie Laveau, and it also sits with death beside it, Daath, okay, due to unknown mysteries, intuitive. Let me see if I can pull Marie on out of here. I called myself into Caballos, loco. For the columns, let's see here. I can do that with this. For the columns, if you are familiar with the four worlds, we're improvising right now. If you are familiar with the four worlds, then you know that Chesed, between Chesed and Jibra, you are in the world of Bria, creative manifestation. Oh, I need that one. Oh, here she is. All right. If you want mercy, chest seed, then to operate between the two columns, you have to get rid of Jason. And that is spelled Jachin. I think I got them all. All right, we're going to go through this quickly because we've already spent 2 hours together. Okay. So that's card 2. The next card is the logo card. Will, the Emperor. Because we just discussed the Empress. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is, yeah. Okay. Can of tuna. In voodoo, the Emperor is the local card. All right, the Hierophant, which is Master of the Head, which you hear me reference when I speak with you all. Let's see. In regards to some of the topics that we discussed, as far as colonizer consciousness, as far as outwitting the devil by Napoleon Hill, which we discussed at the beginning during week 1. Ooh, Marasa. The Lovers. I didn't see the Lovers in here. Maybe that one's sitting at my altar. Let's see. But that would be Marasa in voodoo. Marassa for the Lovers. Oh, here's Dr. John. Hey, Doc. Dr. John, the Magician, the Malchus. they are. Okay. Okie dokie. Now, let's see. Ooh, fun. The Chariot. In voodoo, that would be dance. I just seen that card. Okay, and then strength. In voodoo, strength means lust, possession. You can't think straight. It's taken over. It's you're on it. You're obsessed with it till whatever it is that you're desiring is fulfilled. The Hermit. You learn a lot in your quiet time. As a hermit. Coche. It's a French word. All right. Wheel of Fortune, which is actually described in the Bible, in 2 Kings. I believe it's 2 Kings. Was it 1 Kings? It's in 1 Kings, I believe, and in Ezekiel in the first chapter. I want to say Ezekiel 1:10. And it talks about the angel, the eagle, the bull, and the lion. In voodoo, that is known as the market. There you go. The Justice card. In voodoo, that is known as secret societies. The Hanged Man. In voodoo, that is known as the zombie card. Death. In voodoo, that is known as les morts. Thank you for playing with me in my deck today. My new deck. All right. Temperance. In voodoo, this is called T-Bon Age, small angel. temperance, art. The devil card. In voodoo, this is called Coeur de Mardi Gras, which during I've talked about in some of my sessions. It's where they take the chicken on top of the roof and they spin around the chicken and then they throw the chicken on the ground. Okay. All right. As part of the tradition. The tower. This is called the blasted tower or deluge, where you pull back illusions that are false in the matrix. The star, which is a tail in voodoo, because a star is born. And we have discussed earlier about the importance of the cosmos and how your birth date and galactic signature are part of the cosmos and part of the planets. The moon. In the beginning of our sessions, mirror magic is what we did. Ain't it great? All right. So when you were standing in that mirror, stating some of the things we had talked about, that's the realm you were operating in, the subconscious realm. Here's the sun card. We're almost done. We're about to wrap it up. All right. Oh, in voodoo, that is called Gros Bon Ange or Big Angel, the sun card, which is the card that they have on this little book that they gave me. Isn't that great? All right. Judgment card, which is the ancestors. Baby, judgment's coming right now for some folks. The ancestors have been working overtime. Okay. The world. Carnival. The carnival part. All right. Let's see. Ah. Before I put the deck up. I showed you Dr. John. This would be the full card, which is the world egg when we talk about Dambala and Aida Weedo. It is the very first for where this full starts in regards to Kether. And the world card, which figure you still have scriptures in the world card, Ezekiel, I think I said 110, and when it talks about accomplishment, and see how you have the eagle, the angel, the lion, and the bull. They don't teach you about that in church. All right. but it's in your Bible. Okay, a few times that I have read in the scripture. It is time for me to wrap it up. I'm going to organize these later on by numbers and suites per each. Now, what is not in the classic tarot deck is the wild card. Hey, meet the Guides, the Barons, Mon Brigitte. Yes, indeed. This is going to be absolutely scrumptious. So thank you. I appreciate you. It has been nice. It has been lovely. It has been fun. And my time is up. I appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow about the same time. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your Tuesday. Mwah. Oh, Mystical Harmonizer 111.8 came out. That was so sweet. What Dreams May Come. Thank you, Static Script. Recommended that movie for me. Oh, a lot of folks. Ken C. Mencia 2704. Hello, sugar. All right, I thank y'all for stopping by. And Dragon _ bro -V 9J. Hello, sweetness. Let's see what this is. Fulfillment of adultery. If that's what you wish, my love. Actually, there is no, I did a video on the different type of prostitutes. There's levels to it, and that there is no such thing really as cheating. It is that person having an experience outside of your knowing that constitutes it as cheating or adultery. However, if you tell your mate or whoever you're with ahead of time what type of things that you are into instead of hiding them, then the relationship would probably be more successful. Yeah. I like things out in the open. If you decide you want to have an experience outside of me, okay. And then if I tell you I want to have one outside of you, okay. But nobody should be hiding anything. We are adults. All right. I will have to look into that movie. Let me see. He said, I know a lot of Jezebels. Yep, you're talking to one right now. Ain't it great? All right. Now we will conclude that session. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.